Hello everyone, this is Kalpana from AIT's department. I'm working as an assistant professor. Today I'm going to discuss a topic on system calls in operating systems. First we'll see what is a system call. So it is a mechanism that provides the interface between a process and the operating system. So which means it acts as a bridge between your user process and the operating system. Okay, the user process is running and it requests some service to be done. At that time, with the help of system call only, this operation, the uh, service will be provided to the user program. So it acts as a bridge between your user process and the operating system. And your system calls offers services of the operating system to the user program via your application programming interface. So the system calls are the only entry point for the kernel system. So you can communicate with the operating system with the help of your system calls alone. Okay. So before that, we must know these two things, user mode and kernel mode. There are two modes are available. So one is user mode and another one is kernel mode. So usually this kernel mode is restricted for the users to directly communicate. So whatever program we are going to execute only in the user mode. So we are not allowed to enter into the kernel mode and directly implement it. Actually, when we implement in kernel mode, so it will be an easier one to communicate with the hardware, because this kernel is directly contacting your hardware. So the process will be very much easier if you run any program in kernel mode. But then we are restricting. Why we are restricting to execute any program in kernel mode is, the kernel mode is very sensitive. It does all the operations of your system, like memory management, and all sort of management, resource management. Everything is performed by your kernel. Everything will be maintained or managed by your kernel. So in case if at all any damages occur, it will affect your entire system. Okay, it will corrupt the entire system if it happens in kernel mode. So for that case, we are avoiding user program to run directly in the kernel mode. So we prefer only to execute the programs in the user mode. Okay. So in user mode, you're executing an a user program or process is executing. Just imagine. So at this case, this user program is requesting for some resources, like say it has to perform some input output operations, just in case, or else any resource management or memory management it needs user program. So that in case, system calls will be generated, an interrupt will be created and system calls will be generated. So once the system call is generated, the control passes to your kernel mode, that is your operating system. Okay, so as I told you, system calls are the only entry point for the kernel system. Okay, so once system calls are generated, so your control will be passed to your operating system, that is kernel mode. So your kernel will be taking care of your system call execution. So it will be executing the system call. Okay, so once it is done, once it is been executed, so that result will be, then the control will be passed to your user program. Okay, so once it is been executed, then the control will be hand over to your a user program. Okay, so this is how the system call will function. So first is, user is executing a program. So during that case, in case any kind of input output operations or events needs to happen, or any kind of services this user program needs, so at that time a system call will be generated to provide service to the user program. Okay, So when it gets generated, the control passes to your kernel mode, that is operating system. So your kernel mode only you are going to execute your system call. Okay, the system call, once the system call is processed, it's been executed, then the control will be transferred to the user program. So return from system call. So this is the process of a system call execution. So next things we will be discussing in the next lecture.